Hello everybody, kia ora, tēnā koutou. Welcome to this video about the week coming up, the astrological transits that are affecting us from Saturday the 1st of November until Sunday the 9th of November. My name is Fiona of Sun and Moon Calendar, and in this video we're going to talk about the stage of the lunar month of Libra that we're still in, also the Sun now moving through Scorpio, and all the astrological transits, the major transits that are happening this week. We'll go through them one by one, and we're going to do an analysis of the full moon in Taurus. That's on Thursday the 6th of November. But first of all, I need to promote my calendar, the calendar. So here is the Australian edition. This is the 2025 edition. It is very well thumbed because I took it on a big trip with me. And just to show you, there's so much information in there. It's laid out in lunar months. There are daily aspects, so you can see it, daily aspects and transits listed. Australian birds and animals to represent the zodiac signs. This is Capricorn, the hardworking dog representing the hardworking Kelpie representing hardworking Capricorn. Descriptions of the signs, affirmations, new moon questions, and so much more. And there's a New Zealand edition from 2025. This one is a cleaner copy, and this one has got New Zealand birds and animals. So for example, Taurus has the takahe, and Gemini has the piwakawaka, the fantail with its chirpy cheeriness. Those are just examples. And you can now pre-order the calendar for 2026. It is in the making. It's nearly there, nearly going to the printers. If you go to the website sunandmooncalendar.com now and order your Australia copy or your Aotearoa New Zealand copy, there's currently free postage until the 7th of November, the day after the full moon. So that will be saving you over $5. I'm not sure how much for Australia. It could be saving you quite a lot because distances are far in Australia. In New Zealand, it'll be saving you over $5. So head to the website sunandmooncalendar.com to pre-order your copy before the new year. And there's still time after that to order, of course, but then there will be postage to do. So I expect some of you are wondering why I'm not doing my new formats where I just go and find a place in nature and record off the cuff. It's fun doing that, but it's scary, and I have to say the temptation of being able to do a slideshow and organize my thoughts ahead of time and have it all laid out with prompts for myself was too great. And so this time at least I'm back to doing my slideshow. Anyway, let's look at the moon phase that we're in. We had a new moon in the sign of Libra on Wednesday the 22nd of October. So that is now nearly a couple of weeks ago. That was a new moon very late in the sign of Libra, and the new moon brings about a new start. Shortly after that, the sun moved into the sign of Scorpio, and we are now in Scorpio season. Then on Thursday the 30th of October, actually the day I'm recording this, it's the first quarter moon, and this is the moon waxing, getting bigger in the sky, and it looks like a half moon, even though it's called the quarter moon. And then we're going to have the full moon, the luscious big, I think it's a super moon this time, so very close to Earth, big and beautiful and bold, revealing things, bringing something to completion and to a peak moment. That is the full moon. It will be on Thursday the 6th of November. I'm going to pause while I look up the times for New Zealand, Australia. So in New Zealand, the full moon is at 2:19 a.m. on the 6th. So basically we can sort of think the night of the 5th of November. So that is Wednesday night. And in Australia, it's like 19 minutes past midnight on the 6th. But basically you can think Wednesday night, the 5th of November. Other parts of the world are going to be like UK and Europe and America. it will be on the 5th of November. So there we go, a wonderful full moon coming up, which I will talk about in the all signs breakdown for this video. And then we'll have the last quarter moon on Wednesday the 12th of November, and then that will be then heading towards new moon, and then we have a new lunar month, a brand new start. This one will be in the sign of Scorpio. Okay, let's look at this week's transits and aspects, the major transits by planets and the moon and the sun and aspects. So I have copied and pasted this from the calendar. So this shows how you get the time of the transit, the date, you get what it is. So we're starting there with Venus square Jupiter, and there's a little note for each one to tell you a little bit about it. Of course, there's not a lot of room to write, so it's always a short note. On the 3rd of November, so that's on the Monday of this coming up week, Venus is square to Jupiter. That time given there is the New Zealand time, so it will be 2 hours earlier in Australia and in the middle of the night in Europe and the UK, and the previous day in the US. All right, Venus square to Jupiter. Both of these are benefics. They both have lovely, generous, sweet energy and lucky energy in a lot of ways. When they're square to each other, that is an aspect of tension, but because they're both so, quite easy to deal with, these two, and tend to bring flow and ease and gifts sometimes, and luck. Even a square can be pretty cool with these two. Something to avoid though is getting overly optimistic or getting a bit greedy or grandiose, or having maybe too much trust that everything will work out, and finding that maybe we're just pushing things a bit too far with thinking that everything will be fine and everything is sweet and lovely. Avoid overindulgence. Anyway, it doesn't last for very long, just a day or two. Then on Tuesday, the 4th of November, Mars is trine to Neptune. And this is part of that grand trine, the grand water trine that I talked about in last week's video, where we've got Mercury, Mars, and soon to be the Sun, and then Venus in a trine aspect. So that is ease and flow, as well as Saturn and Jupiter making a full triangle, an equilateral triangle, which is a grand trine. So this grand trine with these different personal planets going through Scorpio, that is going on for a few weeks, especially last week. There were a lot of aspects with that, and there will be more later in November. You can go back to last week's video to find out more about that and how to best use it. But one of the things is to make use of it, because it's a lovely, flowing, easy energy. Don't get too relaxed and flowing. Try and get things done, especially where you get lucky breaks. Jump on those and make the most of the opportunity. Okay, on the 5th of November, which is a Wednesday, Mars is going into Sagittarius. And Mars has been in Scorpio for the last 6 weeks or so. Mars in Scorpio is very powerful because Mars rules Scorpio. It makes us focused, determined, and able to be very strategic. Mars in Sagittarius is also fairly happy in Sagittarius. Sagittarius likes to go off on adventures. Mars likes to take action, so these go quite well together, and Mars will be in there for the next 6 weeks. However, upon going into Sagittarius, Mars is going to come into straight away an opposition on the same day, 4 hours later actually, just looking at that, and into an opposition with Uranus, which is in the opposite sign of Gemini. Okay, and an opposition is not an easy aspect. Mars is not an easy planet in terms of it can be too feisty, ready to fight, very blunt and direct at the expense of people's feelings at times, and wonderfully powerful and instinctive and driven, but sometimes too ready to get into a fight and too ready to jump into action. Uranus, on the other hand, is not the easiest as well. Uranus is a planet of disruption and rebellion. Uranus seeks freedom and innovation and new ways of doing things, breaking out of the old and getting into a new world, a freer world, a world with innovative technology. But Uranus, to do that, will often be rebellious and disruptive and turn your life upside down. So this aspect, Mars opposite Uranus, it's like something wants to fight and something wants to break free. Mars is determined. It might be holding on, or it might be wanting to fight. Uranus might be wanting to break free and throwing some technology and out of the box thinking at Mars, and Mars is just wanting things to be just simple and drive through things. They're pulling opposite each other. There could be a lot of tension around this in the couple of days leading up. I'd say that this is a 2 to 3 day energy here, and it does follow up from, I think it's on the Thursday or the Friday before the week. I'm actually recording on the Thursday, where Mercury is opposite Uranus, and it could be like some message or new information comes in with Mercury opposite Uranus. Then Mars comes along and you need to take action on whatever that is. That's one way it could play out. Anyway, there could be some disruption, some volatility with that. Okay. So moving on, let's go to the full moon, all right? So on the 6th of November, very early in the morning, we have the full moon in Taurus. Taurus is about, and I'm going to read from my little blurb there, Earth's abundant goodness, sensory pleasures and comforts being highlighted and in the spotlight with the moon shining on all that kind of lovely energy for growing things patiently, being connected with the earth and appreciating the abundance of the earth. If anyone's listening to this in the northern hemisphere, they have got at the moment the full moon in Taurus highlighting the harvest season because it's the autumn up there. Here we've got the full moon in Taurus in the southern hemisphere highlighting the abundance of growth that's coming through with the spring energy. The leaves are all vibrant. The gardens are bursting with new life and new growth. So the full moon is highlighting this kind of energy for growth and abundance and the gifts of the earth. Taurus can also be about money, material resources. It can also be about beauty and sensory pleasures. The things that you can see, feel and touch that are some of the lovely luxuries of life. Things that you can eat that are sweet and nice. Or comforts and luxuries like, let's say if this blanket was all fluffy and beautiful, or satin or silk. It's a lovely old wool blanket. Enjoying those kind of things that you can touch and feel and give you pleasure as you touch and feel them. So enjoy that with the things around you. The next day on the 7th, we've got two things happening. We've got Mars in a sextile to Pluto. Mars is, as I've said before, feisty and ready for a fight and ready for action and determined and willing to do new things and break through and get things done. Pluto is strategic, deep, into research. It's about deep and hidden, powerful psychology, or even wealth and even power games. It's like the brainstem power, or the root chakra, very powerful underneath energy. They are in a sextile together. That is quite a supportive, and it tends to be an easier aspect. So this could be a good day to bring together where you want to take action and how you can do that really strategically, looking at the underlying layers involved. This could be even in the form of just getting some deep research done, or exploring some of the psychology that's going underneath. And that will last for 2 or 3 days of, I estimate, from about Wednesday to Friday. On the same day, Venus, who has been in Libra for the last 3 or 4 weeks, making Libra feel all sweet and shiny and loved up because Venus rules Libra, Venus will be moving into Scorpio for the next few weeks until the 1st of December. Okay, Venus in Scorpio can be a little more intense with the loving, because Venus being the planet of love, it may be intense about money and resources as well. Scorpio brings about more depth, more loyalty, more expectations that things are deeply intimate, and possibly a little bit too possessive and obsessive. It's a great one for deep intimacy, though. Venus will be in Scorpio until the 1st of December. All right. And then we've got Uranus going back into Taurus. Uranus only just went into Gemini around, I think it was July this year. Before that, it's been in Taurus for years, 7 years. And so whatever is the Taurus part of your sky, whatever house that is in, has been disrupted, changed around. There could have been breakthroughs, like breaking into new and more freeing ground, like a feeling of freedom. There could have been great innovation. There could have been rebellious behaviors, but definitely innovation, disruption, coming from within you or coming from the outside. And that would have stopped in that area once it moved into Gemini, which was in July. But now on the 8th, on Saturday, Uranus is moving back into Taurus for a final few months. It's in retrograde now. It's going to move back into Taurus. It'll be there until April 2026. I don't know if you guys have been feeling it, but I've definitely been feeling it in my life. Like this year led to some really new beginnings in my life that are very, very new and forming, and I don't know where they're going, but things are changing. I can really feel it. But this end of the year, from around about October onwards, there's a feeling of going back to a lot of old stuff in my life, the way that things were before. For example, just coming back from overseas and going back to my old job, and a job came back into my life that I thought was all finished. It wasn't going to start again, but I'm doing it again. It's a music teaching job. I'm really enjoying it. I don't want it to end, but it might well end, because once we've got Neptune going back into Aries, Saturn going back into Aries, and Uranus going back into Taurus, into new ground, things will be starting, new things will be developing, especially after the Saturn-Neptune conjunction and at the end of February. But right now, Neptune and Saturn, they moved into Aries for a little while, but now they've gone back into Pisces, where they were for a long time. Uranus is going back into Taurus. There's a lot of repetition at the moment, a lot of going back to something that was the way it was a long time ago, or for a long time, feeling like you're going back to old aspects of your life. Okay, all right, and then on the same day, Saturday the 8th of November, Venus is square to Pluto, and this is, like I was talking about that Venus in Scorpio, Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio, and it's about raw power and very deep, willful power and the root chakra power. And Venus will be square to Pluto, which is a tense aspect. And this could bring out the negative sides of both Venus and Pluto. It could bring out jealousy, possessiveness, greed, even with resources or finances, getting overly obsessive about somebody that we're into. And Perhaps intimacy, somebody's trying to get too intimate. It's just a bit too much. Stalking could be a thing with this. It will only last 1 or 2 days. It is a tense aspect. And if feelings of jealousy are coming up within yourself, it is an opportunity to explore those and look at what's behind them. Perhaps do some journaling on that or some reflection. Talk to somebody that's a good person to talk to about it. Because it's a square aspect, which is tense, and it could drive conflict or tension or uncomfortable feelings. But a square aspect that brings up stuff like that is always an opportunity to work on things and make improvements to how we do relationships or how we do money or possessions. So good luck with that. And that is all I've got for this week. Those are the major aspects that are happening. So let's now look at the full moon in Taurus and analyze the chart a little bit. So the full moon in Taurus takes place at 13 degrees and 22 minutes of Taurus. And as I said, it will be very, very early in the morning of the 6th of November. You can basically think of it being Wednesday night. So there's the moon at 13 degrees of Taurus opposite the sun. When we have a full moon, the moon and sun are opposite, and the sun is shining its light across the earth onto the moon, so that the moon is full with the reflected light of the sun. All right. The moon's ruler is Venus, and that's because the moon is in Taurus, and Venus is the planetary ruler of Taurus. And Venus will have just reached the end of its time in Libra. So it's still in Libra, and that is quite a blessed place, as Venus is very at home and comfortable, being also the ruler of Libra. So that's quite nice for the moon. It is a supermoon, so the moon is closer to the earth. Always with the opposition of the sun and moon, we can have some kind of feeling of tension between the sign that the moon is in and the energy of the sun in the opposite sign. So the tension we've got here is between Taurus. The full moon is in Taurus, and that will be highlighting Taurus themes, okay? And Taurus is about what I was talking about before, the abundance of the earth, sensual pleasures, being patient, growing things. On the opposite side is the sun in Scorpio. And Scorpio is more about things that are underneath. Taurus is about what is on the surface that we can tangibly touch, see, feel, taste. Scorpio is more about the hidden layers that are underneath, under the surface. There's a lot going on under the surface. Think of it as like the underworld, under psychology. All right, so, and this is one of the reasons why Scorpio is given a bit of a bad name, because it's a little bit witchy. Scorpio has to do with the occult and, of course, hidden psychological layers and power dynamics are all down there. All right, but Scorpio has a lot of wonderful power and magnetism, depth, and deep understanding of what is underneath. And the occult is a wonderful thing, of course, like if you're into tarot or anything where you're connecting with the unseen energies around us or within us. Scorpio helps us with that. All right, but anyway, some kind of tension between those two types of energies could be what happens with that opposition of the sun and moon. We always get an opposition at full moon, so there's always some kind of tension there. All right, and then we've got a bit of a grand cross happening, and I don't want to overemphasize this because there's other more easy and flowing aspects, but there's definitely some tension. So we've got here Venus. I don't know if you can see the mouse, but Venus is in the sign of Libra. Directly opposite, just 4 degrees out, Chiron. All right, so I'll talk about that one first, though it's not actually the strongest one. Chiron is a wounded healer. And everyone has some kind of childhood wound, usually from your childhood, that lingers on through our life and can make us feel left out, inadequate, ashamed. I think if you didn't have this, you would probably have ascended to some higher level of consciousness. I actually believe that if you are a human on this earth, you have some kind of wound like that through being left out as a child, or feeling like you weren't loved enough, or just some kind of deep shame. And Venus is opposite Chiron. Whoops, head that back. Okay, so Chiron is there at 24 degrees of Aries and the moon at 28 of Libra. So some kind of hidden wound could be coming a little bit to the surface. At the same time, Venus and Chiron are square to Jupiter. So this is a T-square. And Jupiter will be helping out because Jupiter is a benefic. It provides protection and has a sense of justice. But a square aspect is providing tension. You know, there's tension. So we've got an opposition between Venus and Chiron and a square to Jupiter. So perhaps it's something about to do with overindulgence, because Jupiter is so lovely and generous. There can be overindulgence in a negative aspect of that, or being too generous to try and get people to like you, or being too confident and overly optimistic, thinking everything's going to be all right. Let's just get this big picture sorted out. It's all going to be fine. And forgetting that people have underlying layers of psychology that can be troublesome, or there could be money issues because of Venus involved. And then also we've got an out of sign opposition between Jupiter and Pluto, and a square to Venus and Chiron. All right, so Pluto's actually edged through to the next sign. Pluto is in Aquarius, where it will be for 20 years. But Venus is just going to come up to that square with Pluto that I talked about earlier. And as soon as Venus goes over that sign border into Scorpio, there's going to be that square with Pluto. And because of the full moon, Venus being the ruler of the full moon, that could be bringing out that Venus-Pluto square where jealousy, possessiveness, obsession, stalking, and manipulative behavior could come out. So be aware of that with the full moon and the days around it. That's not very easy, but there are some other easier ones going on at the same time. At the same time, we've got ongoing and very nice, very great for building for the future, the trine between Jupiter and Saturn. It won't become exact until next year, but we've got that energy. There's this feeling like we can build for the future with optimism, confidence, some luck, some generosity coming our way, and with Saturn's practical realism and willingness to work hard. So that's ongoing. It's become as close as it's going to get around about now, and then they will drift apart once Jupiter's going retrograde. They're not going to become exact yet, but the energy is there. All right, and I'll just go back. There's also kind of a nice, we've got Mars sextile to Pluto, and that's just going to come up shortly after the full moon. So that can be bringing about energy to make plans, to do research, to look at inner psychology, to take action that's strategic and powerful. So I didn't do little circles for that, but Mars is there at the beginning of Sagittarius and Pluto at the beginning of Aquarius. So there's an easier aspect going on there with that full moon. So when I do the all sign breakdown, I'm going to be talking about the full moon in Taurus. Okay, if you are Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Taurus rising, the full moon is happening in your sign, and especially if you are the middle degrees of Taurus, this is especially lighting you up, revealing something about yourself, maybe helping the world to see you because it's like there's a spotlight on you. And at the same time, you've got the sun in the opposite sign of Scorpio. So the sun is in the sign of your partner or your partnerships, anyone that you work with or spend time with on a one-to-one basis. So you've got that opposition. You are all lit up like a full moon, but your partner or somebody you're in partnership with, or the partnership, the relationship itself, has the sun shining in that area at the moment. So there's a lot of energy over there. So this is the relationship axis, the self, you, and the other. So what is being revealed about your relationships? What is being revealed about yourself in relationship? That's something to think about with this full moon. And it could have something to do with the fact that your rule of Venus is in Libra, which is your 6th house. So there could be some themes coming up to do with the service that you give in the world, the work that you do on a daily basis, your health, your routines and practices for good health, nutrition, exercise, the daily ways, the ways that you organize your daily life. So perhaps there's been some very nice stuff there in the last little while with Venus going through, but there could be some tension coming in just at the end because Venus will be opposite Chiron with that full moon or just before the full moon, perhaps bringing up some kind of hidden wound, and especially hidden for you Taurus because Chiron is in your 12th house and it's been in your 12th house since 2019, so 6 years. And the 12th house is about our self-undoing. It's as far away as you can get from the first house. And the first house is about you, your identity in the world, the character that you play in the world, your body, all right? And the 12th house is almost about how your body comes undone, like where you let go of who you are in the world and even let go of your body. The 12th house can have to do with addictions, but it's also a wonderful house to connect, a wonderful house to connect with spirituality, all right? So maybe there's something coming in there with Chiron opposite Venus, and at the same time you've got Jupiter, which is bringing you a whole lot of lucky opportunities over the year from June until June next year in your 3rd house of your neighbors, your community, your siblings, social media, trade and exchange, learning and thinking, all right? And it could be a possibility with the full moon where you maybe overdo it, like maybe you try to do too much for a community project, or you do too much for a sibling, or your siblings are getting a bit over the top, getting a little bit demanding or something like that. There could be some tension between all of these areas. And then even with Pluto in your 10th house, and you've got Pluto going through your 10th house for the next 20 years, slowly crumbling, destroying, but also before it crumbles and destroys, it's going to bring extra power and focus and drive even to your career. All right, so there's a whole lot of houses involved with this full moon, and but mostly it is about you Taurus and how you present yourself to the world. The world's going to be seeing you. You're going to be reflecting back the world as it gives itself to you. So shine brightly, Taurus. The moon is exalted in your sign, and that is lovely. And so Taurus, just to finish off, remember you can order the Aotearoa or the Australia Sun and Moon calendar for free postage until just after the full moon on the 7th of November. So go ahead to the website sunandmooncalendar.com to do that, and please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. If you are Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Gemini rising, the full moon in the sign of Taurus is lighting up with reflected glory your 12th house. The 12th house is a part of your life or parts of your life that are unseen or largely unseen by the rest of your life. So the people that you go out and see in the world or what people know you for, the 12th house is separate from that. It might be where you visit people in a care home or a hospital or even a prison. It might be just where you escape from the world and do your own thing. For example, it might be gardening because Taurus is your 12th house. So you might like that kind of Taurus thing, or something where you make things look beautiful because Taurus loves that. And maybe most of the world and the people in your life don't really know that you do this kind of thing. It can also be, it's the house of your self-undoing, the 12th house, and your self is Gemini. That is who you are in the world, the character that you play, your identity and your body. And the 12th house is as far away as you can get from there. So it's even like where you're letting your body go. The 12th house can be about escapism and too much escapism at times, but also it can be about wonderful connection to spirituality, meditation, those things that are sort of out of body experiences. At the same time, the sun is on the opposite side of the chart in the sign of Scorpio, your 6th house. The 6th house is about your daily routines for normal life, the practical details of ordinary life, going to work every day, eating certain foods for health each day, exercises, organizing things, keeping them tidy. And with the full moon, there could be some kind of tension between your spiritual practices even, or the desire to escape and be with yourself, that 12th house, and the practical realities of daily life. It could even show up as you have some kind of health scare. Maybe you realize you've been overdoing some kind of addiction, because of the 12th house can have that kind of escapism. And you need to change that in order to improve your health. So that's 6th house, 12th house, the health axis. All right. And at the same time, there is this tension between the ruler of your 12th house, Venus, which is currently in your 5th house. All right. So you've had Venus going through your 5th house of romance and hobbies and entrepreneurial projects and the things that you do from the heart because you love them. And that might have been fantastic for the last few weeks. There could have been extra sweetness and niceness and even love and harmony in those kind of projects. Oh, also children, because the 5th house is your house of children. So maybe there's been some really nice stuff for your children. But with the full moon and the days around it, there is tension between Venus and Jupiter with the square, and this can be an aspect of overindulgence, doing too much. Jupiter's in your 2nd house, and maybe you just get a little bit overconfident with your spending and your money, and maybe buy something that you don't quite really have the money for, get a little bit overconfident. And then also Venus is opposite to Chiron, and Chiron is this wounded healer, and it's been going through your 11th house, and you might have found that since 2019 you've had more troubles with your friendships and maybe with the rewards that you've got from your work. Like maybe you haven't been getting as much money or promotion, or even the perks of the job from your work over the last 6 years or so. And the full moon with Venus opposite Chiron, that might be bringing up some kind of feeling of shame or lack, or like some kind of wound there, as well as this overindulgence things. And at the same time, you've got Pluto. Pluto is in your, just got to pause while I remember, Pluto's in your 9th house. Okay, so Pluto over the next 20 years is going to be intensifying your travel plans, your higher learning or tertiary study, and the adventures that you might want to do where you're expanding your horizons and even your belief systems, intensifying those, but then also breaking them down, crumbling them slowly but surely over the next 20 years. But it's early on now, and there's extra focus and intensity with Pluto there, and maybe there's some tension between those things and Venus in your house of romance and fun, and Jupiter in your second house of earnings and positions, and Chiron in your 11th house of your rewards from work. So this is a whole lot of houses set off, and so just notice what happens. But mostly it is about this fullness, a completion point in something that you've been doing in your 12th house, the hidden house, where you are away from the world. So a realization or a completion point there. All the best for that, Gemini. And remember, Gemini, that you can go to the website sunandmooncalendar.com and order your Aotearoa or your Australia Sun and Moon calendar. With the pre-orders, you get free postage until just after the full moon on the 7th of November. So go ahead to that website, and please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, Gemini. If you are Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising, the full moon in the sign of Taurus at 13 degrees of Taurus is happening in your 11th house. So this could be bringing some kind of peak moment or some kind of completion or ending or a revelation in your 11th house of friendship groups, the groups that you belong to because you choose to, so not family groups, friendship groups or associations that you've chosen to belong to. It's also about rewards from work, so where you get pay from work, money from work, or the perks of the job, or even the status and the benefits from your job, and also long-term goals. And so the full moon could reveal something that you weren't aware of. It might have been hidden in plain sight, and something alerts you to something that you realize, like maybe, gosh, I'm really not being paid enough for this job, or wow, I just realized I'm getting paid more than other people are, something like that. Or this long-term goal, I'm now not so sure about it because now I realized whatever it is, okay? At the same time, the sun is in the sign of Scorpio on the opposite side of the chart, and the sun, Scorpio, is your 5th house. So the 5th house is lovely. It's a house of romance. It's a house of your children. It's a house of dating, of course, with the romance. It's also the house of your hobbies and the things that you do because you love to do them. And that can include projects where you are setting out to sell your work as an entrepreneurial project that you love doing. Okay, so the sun is lighting up that area for the season until the end of November, like 23rd of November or so. So that area is all lit up, but also the moon is lighting up that 11th house. So there could be some kind of tension across this axis. Maybe a tension between your friendship groups and your partner, your new boyfriend, or your new girlfriend, somebody that you're dating on, not so much a committed romance, but a shorter term romance, something that's new perhaps, or something between your children and your friendship groups, or perhaps you've had this long-term goal to write a novel for ever such a long time and you've been slowly working at it, but then on the other side you're suddenly really getting into something completely different, like painting or gardening or fishing, and that's taking you away. There's this tension between those long-term goals and these entrepreneurial projects or hobbies, children, and romance. So some kind of tension there. You've also got Venus just coming to the end of its journey through your 4th house. So that is your house of home and family, family of origin, the place that you live, or properties that you own. And while Venus has been there, you might have been making them more beautiful and harmonious. There could have been more sweetness around. But that final aspect that Venus makes with the full moon, Venus will be opposite Chiron. And Chiron is in your 10th house, and it's actually been there for the last 6 years or so, since 2018 or 19. And the 10th house is your career house. So maybe there's been troubles or more challenges with your career over those last 6 years with Chiron there. It's like there's been some kind of wound, and there's maybe a little bit of a feeling of shame about it. And Venus on the opposite side of the chart at the time of the full moon, in a few days roundabout, might be bringing that into focus. And there could be some kind of tension between what you need to do at home, or what you want to do at home, and what you need to do or want to do for your career, and maybe a feeling of lack with your career that's getting a little bit highlighted with that. And at the same time, we've got Jupiter in your sign, Cancer, and as I've been saying to you, you are really getting some luck and opportunity while Jupiter is in your sign from June this year until June next year. It's about to go retrograde, and then things will slow down, but mostly there's expansion for you, new opportunities for you as a person. You are bounteous and lucky, and there's generosity and optimism for you and from you, going out into the world and coming from the world towards you. And slowly but surely, you'll be noticing some gifts that come along for you with that. But at the time of the full moon, Jupiter is square to Venus and square to Chiron. And so there could be some kind of maybe overdoing it, maybe promising too much, maybe thinking you can do more than you actually can do, maybe counting on your luck too much, because we have to remember luck can come, but it can also go. We can't rely on it. Maybe being overly optimistic or too indulgent. So be aware of that at the time of the full moon. You've also got, of course, Pluto. It's now in your 8th house. You've had 20 years of Pluto in your 7th house, really changing everything about your relationships. Actually, it might have been 14 years in the sign of Capricorn, your 7th house, but it's now gone into Aquarius, where it will be for the next 20 years, and that is your 8th house of your partner's money, investments, other people's money that are part of your life, perhaps your retirement savings. And so there could be some kind of tension between that and Jupiter and Venus in your house of home and family, and Chiron in your career house. Let us see what happens, Cancer, and all the best for the full moon. Mostly it's about this lovely big full moon lighting up your 11th house. It could bring a lucky opportunity to the benefits from your career or your long-term goals. It could reveal something, or it could be a peak moment to celebrate. Okay, all the best for that. And please remember to head to the sunandmooncalendar.com website, and you can order your Aotearoa or your Australia edition of the 2026 calendar for free postage, and that is until the 7th of November. So please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, Cancer. If you are Leo, sun, moon or rising, but especially Leo rising, the full moon in the sign of Taurus is happening in your 10th house. So that is a highlighted moment in your career. Perhaps it's a peak point where you've reached the end of a project and you're celebrating the climactic moment of that project. Perhaps it's also where with that full moon you can step back and look at what you've achieved, where you're at, and think, is this where I want to be at in my career? And also the full moon can bring about an ending, and it can bring about a revelation. The light of the moon could make you realize something that possibly was hidden in plain sight, but something you realize about your career. At the same time, the sun is in your 4th house. Scorpio is your 4th house, and the sun is in there for a whole month, from around about the 23rd of October until around about 22nd, 23rd of November. So that is a shining a light on the house of your home and family, your family of origin, the place where you live, the people that you live with. All right, and there could be some kind of tension with the full moon and in the sign of your career, and the sun in the sign of your home and family. So maybe there's a little bit of competition between each other. Maybe you're finding that you're focusing on your career because there's some peak moment and it's taking time away from your home and family. It could be something like that. The ruler of the full moon is Venus, and that is in your third house. Venus is in the sign of Libra, just at the end of the sign of Libra. Your third house is about your community, your neighborhood, your brothers and sisters, your relations, your social media, communication, your networking, and even small businesses, and also learning. All right, so Venus has been making that area sweet and lovely, harmonious and connected for the time that it's been in there over the last few weeks. But as it comes to that very end of Libra, there's some tension. Venus will be square to Jupiter just around the time of the full moon, and that might mean there's some kind of overindulgence between Venus in that third house of neighborhoods and community. Maybe you're just doing too much with your community, spending too much time with your brothers and sisters or your relations at the expense of other things in your life, doing too much social media, and it's all been fun and lovely, but suddenly you just go a little bit too far. Okay, you've got Jupiter square to Venus because and that can make this overindulgence come out, or over optimism, thinking that you're more lucky than you can actually really count on. Jupiter is in your 12th house, so it's making the 12th house the hidden parts of you, who you are and what you do when you're out of sight from the rest of the world. What do you do in those spare moments? Do you visit somebody in a care home or a hospice, or do you spend some time on spiritual practice? Do you do something artistic? Do you watch Netflix? It can be the house of escapism and sanctuary and just getting away from the world. And Jupiter is bringing luck and blessings to that area from June this year until June next year, for a year. Okay, and so there could be some breakthroughs with your spiritual practice. There could be some artistic, creative breakthroughs. There could be support if you've got any addictions, or luck in any area of your life that's just not obvious to the world. All right, but while we've got Jupiter square to Venus around about the time of the full moon, there's some kind of tension with that third house of your neighborhoods, your siblings, and with that 12th house of where you want to escape. All right, and maybe some overindulgence. All right, at the same time, Venus is opposite Chiron, and Chiron's in your 9th house of travel, higher learning, like university learning, and belief systems, how you organize your beliefs. What is your, to use a term from the Northern Hemisphere, the North Star of how you want the world to be, how you believe the world is, and what you head for in the world. And also the 9th house is about travel and expanding your horizons with your learning and your philosophy. All right, and Chiron's been going through that house, bringing some kind of wound or feeling of lack or even shame since around about 2019. And this full moon could bring some of that a little bit to the surface, because Venus is opposite Chiron and Jupiter is square to Chiron. So perhaps you've had more challenges with travel, or been more restricted with traveling, or there's been some problems with it, or with your higher learning, or with your beliefs, and you don't know quite what they are, and the full moon might bring some of that out. You've also got Pluto that is in an out of signs square in opposition to these other ones. All right, and Pluto has recently moved into your house of partnership, and over the next 20 years it's going to be intensifying your focus on partnership and partners. This is any kind of one-to-one partner, whether that's a business relationship or a client therapist relationship or an intimate committed partner. All right. So over the next 20 years, there's going to be more focus and intensity and transformation with partnership, and how you were in partnership in the past is going to slowly crumble and transform. That's not all going to happen at once. It is slow but sure over the next 20 years. But some of this full moon energy might be setting some of that off. So there could be some difficulties there. So that's all between your third house of community, your ninth house of travel and belief systems and higher learning, partnership, and then your 12th house of escapism, possibly addictions. But mostly, this is about the full moon in your 10th house, a spotlight on your career, your status in the world, your reputation, and a peak moment, a celebration even, and maybe a revelation that comes with it. So all the best for that, Leo. And please remember to go to the website sunandmooncalendar.com and order your Aotearoa or your Australia edition of the 2026 Sun and Moon Calendar for free postage for pre-orders until the 7th of November. And please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. If you are Virgo, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Virgo Rising, the full moon in the sign of Taurus is happening in your 9th house. So it's shining a light on your house of travel and adventure and heading off into the distance to far off places. Also a house of higher learning, like university learning. And also a house of your belief systems, what you believe in, what are your goals for how you want the world to be in terms of what you believe is the right and good ways for the world to be, your philosophy of life. So the full moon could bring a peak moment in one of these parts of your life. It could be like the end of a course that you've been doing. It could be the moment where you book tickets to travel, or the actual moment where you set off on your adventure, or the moment where you finish your adventure, because the full moon can bring endings. And the full moon can also bring revelation. It's shining a spotlight. It gives you a chance to, for those 3 days, to step back and review, and then you can kind of see things more clearly, even things that were hidden in plain sight. At the same time as the full moon in Taurus, you've got the sun in the opposite sign of Scorpio, which is your 3rd house. So for the whole month that the sun is there, from around 23rd of October until 22nd, 23rd of November, the sun is lighting up your 3rd house of neighborhoods, community, siblings, brothers and sisters, and learning, social media, your networks, your social networks in terms of like where you're sending messages and text messages and all that, and also even trade and exchange and small businesses. So there's a lot of energy in that house at the moment, but the full moon in the sign of Taurus and bringing up those bigger picture things, because the 3rd house where you've got your neighborhoods and everything and your small business and your brothers and sisters, there's a lot of detail there. That's a kind of a detail house. It's not so detailed with Scorpio. You're kind of deep with it because Scorpio is your 3rd house. But on the other side, you've got the 9th house. And the 9th house likes to think big, doesn't want too much detail. It's optimistic and it's expansive. And so there could be some kind of tension between the details and the expansive thinking. So see how that goes. But mostly it's great. You've got that lovely full moon in the sign of Taurus. Venus is the ruler of the full moon, and that is in your 2nd house, and it's just coming to the end of its journey through your 2nd house. So Libra is your 2nd house of money and possessions, your earnings, and so there could have been some nice times in that area. Maybe you've been earning a little bit more recently, or enjoying what you do to earn it, or enjoying the things that you own, making them look more beautiful as you display them around the home or whatever it is. Something about your possessions or even how you adorn yourself could have been a little bit zhuzhed up lately with Venus going through there. But as it comes to the end of its journey, it's going to be in an opposition to Chiron. And Chiron's been going through your 8th house for the last 6 years or so. And your 8th house is about your partner's money or investments that you have. It's about large amounts of money that you don't have immediate access to, but they are perhaps coming to you in the future, or there's something to do with you and them. Okay, so that 8th house may have been limited or even damaged over the last 6 years. There could have been some kind of feeling of lack, or even a feeling of shame around that house. It can also be the house of very deep intimacy with a partner, and it's also a house of occult mysteries, all right, and deep psychological layers. It's a very deep house, and you've got Aries in that house, and Chiron's been going through there. Venus is opposite Chiron, so something between that 8th house of other people's money and the 2nd house of your money is at odds around about the time of the full moon. So notice that, and just remember that it's in passing. It's not going to last forever. And at the same time, Jupiter is in your 11th house, and that is, so these are all financial houses actually, because the 11th house, one of the meanings of the 11th house is the money that you get from your career, also the other perks and benefits and rewards that you get from your career, also groups of friends. And at the moment, that area of your 11th house and the money that you get from your career is really having a lot of luck, like from June until June next year, June this year till June next year. Jupiter is going through your 11th house, so that's bringing extra reward, extra luck, extra benefits and opportunities. But just at that time of the full moon, Jupiter is square to Venus and square also to Chiron. So there's a T-square. So it might be that you get a little bit over optimistic about what you're going to get from your job, or over optimistic about your friendship groups and how much support they can give you. Perhaps overindulgent, spending too much time with your friends, and it takes away from some of the other things you need to do, okay? Like maybe looking after some of your money. So try to avoid getting overly optimistic or overly indulgent or overly generous even with others. Also, you've got Pluto, which is now in your 6th house of and it's going to be there for 20 years, and it's bringing extra intensity to your daily work, your daily routines for health and exercise, extra intensity and focus and even power. But then a lot of that is slowly going to crumble and transform over the next 20 years. Don't worry, it's not all at once. It'll be slow but steady, or maybe there'll be some extra ones. But there's something also to do with that house that's involved in that big grand cross that could be bringing tension with this full moon. But mostly the full moon is about your 9th house, so lighting something up to do with travel plans or higher learning, bringing a peak moment perhaps, and perhaps a revelation and a chance to review also your belief systems. So all the best for that, Virgo. And remember, you can head to the website sunandmooncalendar.com and order your 2026 Aotearoa or Australia edition of the calendar for free postage until the 7th of November. And please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. If you are Libra, sun, moon or rising, well, the full moon in the sign of Taurus is lighting up your 8th house, and that will be on Thursday the 6th of November at 13 degrees of Taurus. And this 8th house is about other people's money, large amounts of money that have to do with you, whether that is your partner's money or investments or inheritances, some kinds of money you don't have immediate access to it, but it is to do with you. Maybe you will have access to it later in your life. And it's also, the eighth house is also about deep psychological mysteries, and it's also about the occult, all right? So where you delve into things like astrology and tarot and other occult practices, all right? So there's a full moon there bringing a peak moment. Perhaps some money comes your way that's going to help you with your retirement or something like that. Perhaps you realize, wow, I've been working on tarot for a long time and I'm starting to get the hang of these cards, or you do a reading for somebody for the first time. Some kind of peak culmination point with the full moon. It's a chance to step back and look at that area of life and think, well, what has happened since the new moon in Taurus 6 months ago? What have I achieved? And sometimes the light of the moon can bring a revelation that makes you see something that was even hidden in plain sight you didn't realize before, and now you realize with the light of the moon. In the opposite sign, you've got the sun. So the sun is in your second house, going through the sign of Scorpio. So this is the money axis. You've got the moon lighting up the house of other people's money, and then the sun is in the house of your money, your earnings, your possessions, your resources, and how you look after those resources. So there's a lot of energy in that second house for the month, while the sun is there from around about the 23rd, 22nd of October until 22nd, 23rd of November. All right, so maybe some kind of tension between those areas. The second house is very much what is, you've got it now. You can see it, touch it, feel it. The money you've got now, or the things that are tangibly resources in your life. So not like your inner power and resources that are not real things. The second house is about tangible things, but it can also be about a sense of self-worth. And then on the other side, you've got these things that you can't quite touch, but they're part of you. They can be very powerful, and there's some kind of tension between those. All right, so on the one hand, other people's money in your life, and also the occult mysteries, things that you can't really see, touch, or feel, but they are energies that are there, hidden psychology. All right, that eighth house can also be about deep intimacy with a partner, which can be quite wonderful, especially with your eighth house being Taurus. Wow, how lovely is that? Very kind of romantic and beautiful. Okay, so mostly this is about the full moon in your eighth house. But the ruler of the full moon is Venus. And Venus is also your ruler. And you've had Venus going through your house, making you all quite good looking for the last few weeks. Like maybe you've just had extra shine in your eyes and rosy cheeks and more luscious hair or something for the last few weeks, because Venus has been going through your house, and it is your ruler as well as the ruler of Taurus. But as Venus comes to the end of that time going through Libra, it comes into a square with Jupiter. And Jupiter is in your 10th house of career. So you've got a year of Jupiter in your house from June this year until June next year, of Jupiter bringing lucky opportunities and blessings and generosity and a feeling of optimism and expansiveness to your career and your status in the world, your reputation, the things that you do in life where you're leaving a legacy, you're making a difference. All right. But when Venus comes into that square, there's some kind of tension between yourself, your first house, your body even, but also your feeling of who you are in the world and the character that you play in the world, a tension between that and your career. Maybe your career is asking you to do something that you actually don't feel very happy with. Maybe they want you to be photographed for some magazine and you don't want to be presenting yourself in that way. You don't want your body, yourself, to be on show like that. That could be one example. Or maybe there's some sort of values that are part of your career and your workplace that you don't agree with. All right. Also, you've got this opposition to Chiron. So Chiron's been going through your 7th house for the last 6 years or so, and Venus is just going to an opposition with that just before the full moon, and the full moon's going to bring that out a bit. So there's been some kind of wound or some kind of feeling of lack in the area of partnership. So this might feel like a lack of partnership, or something where your partner is not as well, maybe not as healthy and confident as they should be. There could be some kind of feeling of shame involved. And this can be any kind of partner, whether it's an intimate partner, a committed relationship, or whether it's a client-therapist relationship or a business partner. And so the full moon might, with Venus opposite, might bring out a little bit more of that. And then Jupiter could bring out, possibly Jupiter square to Chiron and square to Venus, might bring out even a little bit of overindulgence or over-optimism, especially in your career house. And that's maybe not helping things with your partner or helping things with you yourself. So be aware of that. You've also got Pluto in your 5th, and Pluto is going to be there for 20 years actually, but it's setting off this this tension as well a bit. Pluto moved into your 5th house just a couple of years ago, and the 5th house is about romance, it's about your children, it's about your hobbies and the things that you do because you love to do them, the things that you produce from your heart, entrepreneurial projects that you really love doing. But some kind of tension with that as well. And Pluto's, over the next 20 years, is going to bring added intensity to that area and focus in that area and power in that area, but then also slowly, in a crumbling way, transform that area. But you don't need to think about that too much now, because that's just going to be slowly, and there's a lot of benefits to it as well. But some kind of tension between all those areas and the full moon. But having said that, mostly it is about a full moon in that 8th house, bringing to some celebration moment or culmination point, or an ending, a grand ending even, in the house of your large amounts of money that are behind you, sitting behind you, your partner's money or investments, occult mysteries, and your hidden psychological layers, or even intimacy with your partner. So all the best for that, Libra. Please remember to go to the Sun and Moon Calendar website, sunandmooncalendar.com, and pre-order your 2026 Aotearoa Sun and Moon Calendar or the Australia edition of the Sun and Moon Calendar for free postage until the 7th of November, just after the full moon. And please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. All the best, Libra. If you are Scorpio, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Scorpio Rising, the full moon in the sign of Taurus at 13 degrees of Taurus is happening in your 7th house of partnership and relationship. Something to do with the way that you do one-to-one relationships or partnerships. And this could be something to do with your actual partner themselves, somebody that you're in a committed relationship with, or it could be somebody you work with, or somebody you spend a lot of time with on a one-to-one basis. It could even be a therapeutic relationship between therapist and client. And it could be some culmination point or celebration moment or peak point, or even an ending, a fruition point for your partner. But it could also be for the partnership itself, the relationship. Okay? There could also be a revelation, because the full moon, the light of the moon, can help us see things that might have been hidden in plain sight. Okay, but whether you get that or not, it is a moment to step back and review things, because the light, the moon is sort of still in the sky for that moment, and you can look at things. All right, you can even look back to 6 months ago with the new moon in Taurus and think what has developed in that time. All right. At the same time, you've got the sun going through your first house, Scorpio. So you are kind of lit up and shining out in the world. The world is noticing you more at the moment, and the sun will be there until around 22nd, 23rd of November. But so there might be some kind of tension between you and your partner because the full moon has the sun opposite, and that opposition can bring tension. At the same time, the ruler of the full moon is Venus, and Venus is in your 12th house. So the 12th house is the parts of your life where you retreat from the world, where you kind of take sanctuary, where you go somewhere or you're with people that the rest of your life doesn't really know about or doesn't really notice. All right, so it could be like where you go to see somebody in a hospice or a care home, or it could just be where you go and retreat from the world and do your own thing, perhaps even practice spiritual, do spiritual practices, especially meditation, anything where you're sort of getting out of your body a little bit. It could be where you're doing really creative, where you're letting things flow, just you're a channel from the universe. And Venus has been lighting up this area for the last few weeks. And then Venus is going to go into your sign at the end of this week, and you're going to be a little bit more beautiful and rosy glowed and shining in a Venusian way, which is quite lovely. But for now, Venus is in that 12th house, and so there might be extra sweetness in the ways that you take sanctuary from the world or even escape from the world. And the downside of the 12th house is addictions, like too much escapism. Maybe you've been indulging in more sweets and chocolate since Venus was in that area. Especially as Venus comes to the end of its time going through Libra, it's going into a square with Jupiter. And Jupiter can make us, the downside of Jupiter with a square, a tense aspect could be too much indulgence, too much escapism, too much being overly generous. Jupiter is actually in your 9th house, which is really lovely. So mostly Jupiter is about blessings and luck and optimism and expansion and even justice and righteousness. And the 9th house likes that. So Jupiter went into your 9th house of Cancer in June this year, and it will be there until June next year. And it's bringing a lot of blessings to that area in the time. So you might find yourself getting more opportunities to travel or to have connections with foreign places. You might be finding that you've got more opportunities to do higher learning or to explore philosophy. You might be finding that you get some help from other people with defining what your belief systems are. And those could be expanding and growing and feel kind of quite exciting and optimistic and righteous even. So that's over a year. But while there's this aspect of tension with Venus, then there could be some perhaps most likely overindulgence or overly optimistic. All right, so maybe like planning to travel for too long or to go too far or spend too much money on travel, something like that could be an example. You've also got Chiron opposite Venus and square to Jupiter. Chiron's been going through your 6th house of your daily work, your health routines, the way that you organize daily life. It's been going through there since 2019, maybe bringing about a feeling of lack in that area, maybe some health problems even, because the 6th house can be about health and health problems even. There could even be feelings of shame that have come up while Chiron's been through there. And this full moon with that square with Jupiter and Venus and the opposition with Venus could be setting off some of that. You've also got Pluto, which is going through your fourth house of home and family of origin, and that's being a little bit set off, so that could bring some tension in that area as well. But mostly, Scorpio, this is about the full moon in Taurus, which is your seventh house of partnership. So there could be some peak moment, a celebration moment, or a revelation that engenders some kind of ending to the ways that you do partnership or to the partnership itself. And it might not be your life partner, it could be some other kind of one-to-one relationship. But very likely there's a celebration moment. So all the best for that, Scorpio. Please remember to go to sunandmooncalendar.com and order your Aotearoa Sun and Moon Calendar 2026 or the 2026 Australia Sun and Moon Calendar for free postage for pre-orders until the 7th of November. And please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. All the best, Scorpio. If you are Sagittarius Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Sagittarius Rising, the full moon in the sign of Taurus on Thursday the 6th of November at 13 degrees of Taurus is happening in your 6th house. And this is a house of your daily work, your routines for health and exercise and nutrition, eating healthy food, and just your routines for keeping your life in order, life admin, getting up at a certain time, cleaning your teeth, all of that, even about health. There's a full moon there that could bring a culmination point, even a celebration moment in your daily work or something that you do on a daily basis. And it also could be a revelation where something is revealed by the light of the moon, even if it's something that was hidden in plain sight. All right? So there could even be an ending with it, because a full moon can bring an ending. All right? But very often it is a celebration time, a peak moment, a culmination point. So perhaps a project you've been working on at work, perhaps you've been doing an exercise routine and you suddenly realize you can do 5 straight full press-ups. Or it could be you've been working with or eating a nutritional supplement and you realize it's working really well, or you realize the opposite, that it's not working well, it's time to let it go. Could be something as simple as that. At the same time, the sun is in the opposite sign in Scorpio, which is your 12th house. And this is a house that is hidden from the world. It's where you retreat from the world. It's your sanctuary. It could be where you go home and what you do while no one's looking. Your escape. It can be your spiritual practice where you connect with the universe, where you meditate, where you're letting go of your body in a way and thinking of all the other energies that exist into endless space. And also the 12th house could even be where you're visiting somebody in a care home or hospice or something like that. All right, so the 12th house is lit up at the moment, and normally people in your life don't really see the 12th house, but you at least, if not other people, are seeing it a bit more at the moment, because the sun is there lighting it up until about 22nd, 23rd of November, when it will move into your sign, Sagittarius. The sun will be in your sign, lighting you up with all of your body. All right. There could be some kind of tension with the full moon between your 6th house and your daily life routines and admin and service and work, and the 12th house, where you are perhaps wanting to be very creative and spiritual and disconnected from the practical realities of daily life. So maybe some tension there. There also could be some kind of tension with Venus. So Venus is currently going through your 11th house, and that could have been bringing some really sweet times with your friends, with rewards from work, like maybe even a pay rise. It comes every year to your 11th house, and it's always a nice time. Or some progress with your long-term goals. That's also the 11th house. And good connections with friendship groups. But as Venus comes to the end of that time in the sign of Libra, it comes into a tense aspect at the time of the full moon with Jupiter. And Jupiter is in your 8th house of your partner's money, of investments and savings, and even inheritance money, but also your underlying psychological layers or occult practices and mysteries. All right, so also deep intimacy with your partner. Jupiter is there, bringing you probably some money from other people, especially your partner, over the year from June this year until June next year, bringing blessings and luck in all of those 8th house things. But while there's a square to Venus around about the time of the full moon, there could be perhaps some tension there, some overindulgence, maybe over generosity. Maybe your partner starts giving their money away and you thought, oh wow, that's actually our money in some ways. Or maybe your family starts giving their inheritance away. Whatever it is, perhaps some over generosity, overindulgence, or over optimism that's coming through that Venus Jupiter square. You've also got Chiron in your 5th house, and your 5th house, Sagittarius, is about romance and dating. It's about your children, and it's about your hobbies. It's a lucky house of fun and play, also entrepreneurial projects and the things that you do that you love. Since about 2019, Chiron's been going through there. It's a wounded healer, and it's been perhaps bringing a feeling of lack or shame, even something that's not quite working well with your 5th house. And that's going to end soon because Chiron will move on to the next sign quite soon. But the full moon is going to be with Venus opposite Chiron, is going to be setting some of that off. So maybe that will come up at the time of the full moon, as well as that Jupiter with the overindulgence. All right, and at the same time they're setting off Pluto too. There's a grand cross, and Pluto is in your 3rd house, and so that's bringing added intensity and perhaps even possessiveness or jealousy in your area of your neighbors, your brothers and sisters, your siblings, your relations, aunties, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, social media, trade and exchange, or small businesses, or even some area of local learning. So all of these, a lot of areas there, and there could be some tension, but mostly this is about the full moon in Taurus, which is lighting up your 6th house of all those daily life things, the work that you do on a daily basis, the service that you give to the world in practical ways, and your routines for health and being organized in your life. So all the best for that, Sagittarius. Please remember that you can go to sunandmooncalendar.com and pre-order your Aotearoa Sun and Moon Calendar or your Australia Sun and Moon Calendar for 2026 for free postage until the 7th of November. And please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. All the best, Sagittarius. If you are Capricorn Sun, Moon, Rising, but especially Capricorn Rising, the full moon in the sign of Taurus on the 6th of November at 13 degrees of Taurus is happening in your 5th house. And that could be bringing some kind of culmination point, a feeling of celebration even, a party even, a date even, because this is your house of romance, or it could be some connecting moment with your children. It's the house of your children, or some creative project that you complete, or you have a breakthrough with it, or an entrepreneurial project. The 5th house is a house of those things that we love, whether it is sweet romance, your lovely children, the things that you love to do, your hobbies and your playfulness. And that full moon could be really lighting up that area with a culmination point, a peak moment, a moment of fruition, and also there could be some kind of celebration. There also can be a revelation, like maybe you realize, this person I'm dating is not the one for me, because you see something about them that you didn't see before, or you newly understand something about a child of yours, or you newly see something about a creative project that you've been doing. So a moment of revelation could come about by the light of the moon, all right? But mostly it's great. It's nice to have a full moon in your 5th house, and you do have one one once a year, which is really neat. On the opposite side of the chart, in your 11th house, is the sun shining up in the sign of Scorpio, and the sun's there until the 22nd, 23rd of November, lighting up that house of your rewards from work, whether that's your money, your pay from work, from your career, or the other perks that you get from your career. So that is pretty cool. It's also, the 11th house is also about long-term goals, so they could be a bit lit up at the moment. Maybe you're making good progress on them, or you're realizing things about them. And also friendship groups, so it might be that you're having extra time with your friendship groups, or noticing more or getting support from them, which is pretty cool. All right, there could be some kind of tension between that 5th house of your children, your romance, your fun and your hobbies, and the rewards from your work and your friendship groups. Maybe your friends are getting fed up with you spending all your time on this or that hobby, or all your time with your children, or with this new person that you're dating or something. Some kind of tension, but it can all be resolved. That's just part of life, to have tension, and then we rebalance. All right. The moon is ruled, the full moon is ruled by Venus, because Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and Venus has been going through your 10th house, so bringing some, I hope in the last few weeks, some extra sort of harmony, connection, even some extra reward in your career, because Libra is your career house. But as Venus comes to the end of Libra, it is going into an aspect of tension with Jupiter. And Jupiter's in your 7th house of partnership, and it started there in June, and it's going there until June next year. And that is bringing luck and blessings and opportunity in your area of partnership, whether that is business partnerships, client relationships, one-on-one partnerships of any kind, including life partners or committed relationships. So there's blessings there for your partners, and also for the partnership or the relationship itself, from June this year until June next year. But while Venus is in square at the time of the full moon, there could be some kind of tension, perhaps through overindulgence, over-optimism, or over generosity with Jupiter and Venus like that. So maybe some kind of tension between your partner and your career. Maybe your partner's just asking for too much time with you, or maybe your partner's been spending some of the money that you're getting from your career, something like that. At the same time, Chiron is also in your 4th house of home and family and properties that you own and people that you live in. And it has been there since 2019, bringing some kind of feeling of lack, or some actual lack, like possibly even some feelings of shame. And that's in its aspect of tension. Again, it's square with Jupiter and it's opposite Venus. So there could be some kind of connection there between home, career, family, partner, and maybe these are not mixing very well at the moment. You've also got Pluto in your 2nd house of your money and your earnings and your possessions, and that might not be mixing well as well. But you just have to do the best with that, Capricorn. There could be some tension around the full moon, but mostly it is a lovely full moon. It's in Taurus. The moon is exalted. It's in that lovely 5th house of romance and children and playful fun and your hobbies. So I hope you enjoy that. Remember to go to the sunandmooncalendar.com website and order your Aotearoa or your Australia Sun and Moon calendar for 2026. If you pre-order before the 7th of November, you get free postage with it. And also, please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video. All the best, Capricorn. If you are Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but especially Aquarius Rising, the full moon on Thursday the 6th of November, or the night before actually, really, at 13 degrees of Taurus is happening in your 4th house. This is your house of home and family, properties that you own or the people that you live with, your family of origin. All right, so the full moon could bring some kind of culmination point, even a celebration moment, that even, or a point of fruition that could signal an ending maybe, or just a culmination, a peak moment. And that could be a celebration that could be absolutely lovely. It could also bring about a revelation. The light of the moon might show up something that was hidden in plain sight and make you realize something about your home or about your family. All right. At the same time, the sun is in the opposite sign of Scorpio, which is your 10th house of career. And the sun is going through there for a month from 22nd, 23rd of October until 22nd, 23rd of November. So it's lighting up your career at the moment, as it does around this time every year. So attention to your career. Career is a bit highlighted at the moment. You're in the spotlight. But there can be some kind of tension between your career and your home and family. But it's just a matter of trying to find a balance between those two. The ruler of the full moon in Taurus is Venus, because Venus rules Taurus. And Venus is just coming to the end of its time in Libra. And that might have been lovely for you, Aquarius, because Libra is your 9th house, which is about expansion and travel and expanding your horizons, higher learning new things, your belief systems, what you believe, what is your guiding star in life, and adventure and new horizons. So Venus might have been bringing some harmony and some resources to help you in those areas over the last few weeks. But as Venus comes to the end of that area, it comes into a tense aspect with Jupiter. So Jupiter is in your 6th house of your daily routines, your daily work, where you go to work every day, how you give service in the world, practical service, and your routines for health and nutrition and exercise, life admin, very practical house. Jupiter there is bringing you luck and expansion and benefits and opportunities and a feeling of optimism and expansiveness for a whole year. Jupiter went into there in June 2025, and it's going to be there until June next year, bringing a whole lot of luck and expansiveness. Not so much in the next few months, because it's going to go retrograde and then we will be internalizing, but in general, yes, lots of really good benefits there. But at the time of the full moon, it's an intense aspect, a square aspect to Venus, and that could mean that there's some kind of overindulgence or a temptation to overindulge, to be overly optimistic, or to be overly generous, perhaps in the area of travel, like to make plans that are a little bit too ambitious, and maybe to be trying to do too much in your daily routines, and then it comes into tension with your travel plans or your higher learning, some kind of tension there. You've also got Chiron in your 3rd house of Aries, and Chiron's been going through that 3rd house of your neighborhoods, your communities, your siblings, and relations, and even trade and exchange and social media, any kind of communicating and networking. Your 3rd house, so Chiron's been going through there since 2019, bringing some kind of feeling of lack, some problems there, not having enough, perhaps feeling of not having enough, or even shame since that time. And that full moon with Venus opposite Chiron and Chiron square to Jupiter could be bringing that out a little bit more. And at the same time, you've got Pluto in your house, and that could be bringing some added intensity, tension, maybe some power plays as well. So there's some tension there, but it's not going to last too long. It'll be over a few days after the full moon, and mostly that full moon is about your 4th house, lighting it up, bringing you, I hope, some cause for celebration and a culmination point or a feeling of fruition. You could even look back to 6 months ago to what has come about since the new moon in Taurus then. And I hope it's a lovely one for you, Aquarius. And remember to go to the sunandmooncalendar.com website and pre-order your Australia Sun and Moon calendar or your Aotearoa Sun and Moon calendar for 2026. If you order before the 7th of November, or up to and including the 7th of November, you get free postage. So go there, and please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video. All the best, Aquarius. If you are Pisces, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Pisces Rising, well, the full moon in the sign of Taurus on the 6th of November, but basically the Wednesday night, the 5th of November, at 13 degrees of Taurus, is happening in our 3rd house. So it's lighting up, bringing to a culmination point or a peak moment or a fruition point our 3rd house. And this is about, the 3rd house is about our neighborhoods, our community, our siblings, our brothers and sisters, nephews, nieces, cousins, aunties, uncles, our relations, not including grandparents and not including children or parents. Okay, it can also be a house of social media, a house of trade and exchange and small business, and it can also be a house of learning, especially just local learning and local travel. So the full moon is bringing some kind of culmination point or peak moment in that house. I'm interested to see what that's going to be, because that's my 3rd house as well, as I'm Pisces. At the same time, we've got in the opposite side of the sky, we've got the Sun in Taurus, and that is our 9th house. The 9th house is lit up at the moment from 22nd, 23rd of October until 22nd, 23rd of November. As the Sun moves through it, it does so every year, lighting up our 9th house of travel opportunities, higher learning, belief systems. What is our guiding star? What do we believe in? The Sun could help us with some of that. But there's kind of a tension between the moon and the sun. The 3rd house is very much about ordinary life and the details of life and small talk and daily communication. And the 9th house is about the bigger picture stuff, foreign travel. 3rd house is local travel, 9th house is overseas travel, distant travel, foreign places, big picture thinking, learning at a high level, like university level. It's all big picture. 3rd house is small picture. There could be some kind of tension between these, but that's all part of life, is learning to balance these kinds of things. All right. The ruler of the full moon is Venus. Venus is a planet that is exalted with us, but it does rule our 8th house, and it's been going through our 8th house. And the 8th house is about investment money, our partner's money, if you have a life partner or a committed partnership, inheritances, large amounts of money, like even retirement savings that you can't get your hands on right now, but it does have to do with you, and maybe one day it will come to you. So Venus might have been bringing us some luck there, and support from perhaps our partner's money, or some benefits for our investment money. All right. The 8th house is also about occult mysteries, and also about our deep psychological layers, and there could have been support with Venus going through there, bringing harmony and often blessings. Venus does, it's a benefic. But as Venus comes to the end of that area in Libra, it's going into a tense aspect. It's going into a square with Jupiter. Jupiter's in our house of romance and children and hobbies and playful fun, the things that we do because we love them, the things that we create from our heart, and that can include entrepreneurial projects. And I'm just thinking, I can just imagine my kids are coming home around about that time, and I can imagine feeling like maybe there's some kind of overindulgence, like I can get overindulgent with my kids. Man, it's a challenge not to. Anyway, with that tension, there could be some kind of overindulgence, being overly optimistic, over generosity, so take care with that. We also have Pisces. Chiron is opposite Venus and square to Jupiter. Chiron's been going through our second house of our earnings and our money and possessions since 2019, bringing some kind of feeling of lack there, and even some kind of, there could be a bit of a feeling of shame with that, and that might be set off with that full moon because of Venus in that opposition and Jupiter in the square. All right. And we've also got Pluto in our 12th house, and that could be digging into some deep psychological layers, or even some problems like childhood wounds, addictions even. It's in our 12th house, and it is part of a grand cross with those guys. Those are the ones that I mentioned. However, mostly this is about the full moon in the sign of Taurus, which could bring about this kind of culmination point with a small business, with your social media networks, with your siblings, with your neighbors or your community members. And it could be a feeling of celebration, fruition, and satisfaction with that. So all the best for it. And remember, you can go to sunandmooncalendar.com and order your Aotearoa or your Australia 2026 Sun and Moon calendar. It is packed with information for next year. It's a big year of change. And if you order before the up until the 7th of November, you get free postage. And please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, Pisces. If you are Aries, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Aries rising, the full moon in Taurus at 13 degrees of Taurus happening on Wednesday night, the 5th of November, but technically Thursday morning, is in your second house. This is your house of your earnings, your money, your possessions, your resources, even your sense of self-worth. And it could be that the full moon brings some kind of gift of some money or a possession that helps you out, or there could be some kind of culmination point. Maybe you do a great budget, maybe you are looking around at everything that you own and realizing I have enough, or maybe you buy something that just is something you've been looking for a while maybe for, and you get it, and there's a feeling of completion, even celebration with it. That can happen with the full moon. At the same time, the sun is in your 8th house, and Scorpio is your 8th house, and this is also a money house. It's a house of your partner's money, or large amounts of money that are in your life, like retirement savings, investments, inheritance, even taxes. And so the sun is going through there and lighting up that area. And there could be some kind of tension between those two money houses, your earnings versus perhaps your partner's earnings. The 8th house is also about occult mysteries and your underlying psychological layers and deep intimacy with your partner. That is all lit up now. And the sun will be there until 22nd, 23rd of November. If there's some kind of tension with that with the full moon, it's just a matter of working to balance things. Also with the full moon, sometimes a revelation can come because the light of the moon lights something up that you might have not noticed before. It might have been hidden in plain sight. The moon in Taurus is ruled by Venus, because Venus is the ruler of Taurus. And Venus has just had a lovely time going through your 7th house of Libra. It's very at home in Libra because it also rules Libra. And there could have been some sweetness and harmony with your partner. That is coming to an end when Venus moves into Scorpio. I mean, it's not going to end with your partner, and the sweetness and light can continue, but there's been an extra rosy glow with your partner over the last few weeks. In the last few degrees, around about the full moon, Venus will be in a square to Jupiter, and Jupiter is in your house of home and family of origin, your ancestors, also the place that you live with and the people that you live with, the place that you live, the people you live with. And Jupiter's bringing a lot of luck and blessings there. From June this year, it's going to be in that 4th house of your home and family until June next year. So that's a lovely time of blessing for that area. Opportunities, luck, expansiveness, optimism. Okay, Jupiter is going to go retrograde soon, so that will become a little more internalized over those few months, but it will be going direct again. But around about the time of the full moon, Venus and Jupiter are square to each other, and so that could be bringing tension. And this is likely to come in the form of perhaps overindulgence in your home that's then affecting your partnership, over generosity or over optimism. Okay, so be aware of that. And you've also got Venus opposite Chiron, and Chiron, Aries, has been going through your 1st house over the last 6 years or so, since 2019. And Chiron is a wounded healer, and it might be that since then there's been something in yourself that's felt like there's a lack or a limitation or even a feeling of shame in that time. And with Jupiter square to Chiron and Venus opposite Chiron at the time of the full moon, some of that feeling might be bubbling up and feeling more obvious at the time. And so it could be that maybe some therapy, some counseling, some journaling might help you through that. You've also got Pluto in your 11th house, and it's going to be in your 11th house for the next 20 years, of course, but Pluto can bring about extra intensity, maybe possessiveness, maybe like power plays, and that could come into some of those feelings that are going on with those tensions around about the full moon. But mostly the full moon is the sign of Taurus. The moon is exalted in Taurus, and it's a lovely full moon in that way. And I'm hoping it brings a gift of something material or a possession or some money for you, Aries. And if not, some kind of feeling of completion, fruition. You can even look back to 6 months ago since the new moon was in the sign of Taurus and think what has come to fruition since that time. So all the best for that, Aries. And remember to go to sunandmooncalendar.com to pre-order your 2026 Sun and Moon calendar, either the one for Aotearoa, New Zealand, or the one for Australia. If you order between now and the 7th of November, you get free postage. And also, please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video. So all the best, Aries. There we go, everyone. That is all from me. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video. I got completely carried away. I started in broad daylight and now it is fully dark. Probably talked for too long. Anyway, remember to go to sunandmooncalendar.com for your Aotearoa or your Australia Sun and Moon calendar, and you can pre-order for free postage until the 7th of November. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now. Hei konara ka kite.